Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us on your Saturday. My name is Karli Barnett. I'm here at the First Alert Desk, and we want to give you a look at some of the stories that we are working on today. We did not wind up having a 6 o'clock newscast, but you could tune in at 9 and 10 on Peachtree TV, as well as 11 on CBS, and we will have you covered there. But of course, you can always join us here at the First Alert Desk to catch you up with everything that you need to know, as well as any streaming devices you may have and our app. I think I've just about covered it, but the bottom line is Atlanta News First has you covered pretty much wherever you go. Hope you've been enjoying your nice hot start to the weekend. I know I definitely had to get the iced coffee this morning, that was for sure. I even sat outside for a little bit and by 11 a.m. quickly realized that was a mistake. So we're going to get into a look at some of your top stories. This first one that we are starting out with is where Joshua Skinner is going to be reporting live from for us tonight. Now, this actually aired on Peachtree TV. This video has been making its way around social media, so you may have seen it already. Go ahead and take a look here. You can see in this video, that is a coach. That's been confirmed that appears to punch the player, number 24, there in the stomach. A Mays High School football coach, we are told, is in custody after Peachtree TV cameras caught him punching that player in the stomach. The coach is yelling at the player, striking him. Police at the game told Atlanta News First that this coach was taken into custody following that punch. So we saw this live on television happening on Peachtree TV on our network, and that is what led Joshua Skinner to dig into this story, find out more about who that coach is, who this player is, and what exactly happened there. But we do know tonight that that coach is in custody. Now, in a statement tonight, Atlanta Public Schools said in part, quote, a lay coach for Mays High School, who is not a classroom instructor, is in police custody after an incident that occurred on the sideline during the school's game this afternoon against Douglas County High School. The adult will be charged with simple battery and faces administrative charges from the district, end quote. So again, starting tonight at 10, we're going to have more information on this. We have our preliminary report at 9, another report at 10, and again tonight at 11. We are working on finding out all the details about this, but Atlanta Public Schools Police do say that this is an ongoing investigation. So that is the latest. We do know that that coach caught on camera is in custody tonight. That according to a statement from Atlanta Public Schools. So we want to get into another story. This is a devastating loss for Covington. A massive fire broke out. Residents and business owners waking up there to essentially find property ruined, and that fire broke through in the early morning hours. Reporter Bridget Spencer covered that for us, and I'm going to turn that over to her now.
Business owners are waking up to complete devastation after a fire unexpectedly ripped through an old building inside of the Covington Square. Now owners are left to figure out how to start all over again. Melissa Smith and Debbie Royer are in disbelief. Their business, Covington Dance and More, was destroyed after years of blood, sweat, and tears.
We've worked really hard to make a beautiful store that is now not there.
They tell us their business sat inside the historic Belk building in the square, just taking lots of smoke and water. The building next door bore the brunt of the flames.
The Belk building is, of course, a historic building in town, and so it sat empty for a long time, and we felt privileged and lucky to take over that space and made it beautiful.
Fire investigators say the blaze started shortly before 9:30 on Friday night. It damaged at least 4 businesses, but thankfully nobody was hurt. But the damage will certainly leave a scar on the city. Those who live in Covington say the historic buildings in the square are what gives the city its character.
Covington has kind of come on the map here in the last several years for the tourism, for the filming, and this being right on our square, or just not even a block off the square, but it's right here where everything happens. It's going to be rough.
Firefighters haven't figured out what caused the fire yet. In the meantime, the cleanup is only just beginning, and business owners like Melissa and Debbie are left wondering what's next. For now, they say they will have to look for a new space.
The customers, oh my gosh, we've made so many friends. such good relationships. The store's been growing and growing and growing. Now it's gone.
Just, keep praying for the city of Covington.
In Covington, Bridget Spencer, Atlanta News First.
Well, already just so awful to see the sight of those flames. And as these people said, this happened in their city square, these historic properties that give the city character. And what that one gentleman said about the movies is absolutely true. This was several years ago. I was actually part of a movie that filmed in Covington, just a small part, but it was really neat to be part of that. But he's absolutely right that those buildings are being used, and they're being spotted by these major motion picture studios to use locations like this for filming. So hopefully they can start that rebuilding process, but we do know they have a long way ahead of them, unfortunately. The next story that we are working on brings us outside. We've got some video from earlier today, and our very own Alan Devlin, he was emceeing this event. It was a 5K at Avasi, I hope I'm saying that right. I tried to put a pronouncer in there for myself, but either way, you see the name there on your screen. It was a walk for life honoring the lives of 2 Atlanta students. They were killed at the hands of domestic violence. So this is obviously inspired by a dark and tragic story, but trying to now use that pain to give back to the community, pay it forward, and bring something good from this. This was at Piedmont Park, and the purpose is to build a platform for mental health awareness, creating a safe space to heal, survive, continuing to fight through grief and trauma. So that 5K taking place, thankfully, in the early morning hours from 8 until 10 this morning. There was a festival afterwards. There were live performances, lots of other events, food trucks, etc. So great to see our anchor, Alan Devlin. He was the MC for that, and certainly a lot of good coming from that 5K event in honor of those students and in memoriam of those students. We're going to go ahead and take you outside again right now because, well, it looks nice out right now, but Cutter, we are dealing with the heat. I know I was feeling it this morning, that's for sure, and I would imagine we're going to feel much of the same for our Sunday tomorrow.
Yeah, unfortunately, another first alert tomorrow, another heat advisory in effect, another air quality alert in effect. So basically, the same setup we had today back in place tomorrow. Now, the good news, we have slightly, and I do mean slightly cooler temperatures in the forecast tomorrow. We were 99 in Atlanta today. A good evening. I'm first alert meteorologist Cutter Martin. But tomorrow, I think we're gonna maybe stick out in the mid to upper 90s versus upper 90s to near 100. We were just shy of 100 degrees today. It felt like it was between 105 and 110 degrees today. So it was an absolute scorcher. We did have just a couple of showers and thunderstorms pop up. But again, by and large, it was a dry day for most folks, though we did for a bit pause play at the Tour Championship at East Lake Golf Club, just one of the couple of spots that did deal with some showers and thunderstorms in the forecast today. So again, as Karli mentioned a few moments ago, you can watch us on a variety of platforms this evening, AtlantaNewsFirst.com and the First Alert Weather app, Atlanta News First app. And we are going to be answering your weather questions on YouTube as well. One of the many places that we're streaming live on, but the only place you can ask your weather questions, and I can address those. Will Lyles and Dave, hello to you. Thanks for watching. And if you have any weather questions, give me a holler. Again, Will and Dave, thanks for tuning in. If you need any clarification on the forecast, I'll be appearing over at the feed every so often and answering your weather questions, excuse me, as they come in. Right now, outside, temperatures are in the 90s still in some neighborhoods, and it'll be a slow cooling trend through the evening hours. I think we're going to hang on to the upper 80s, possibly through 11 o'clock inside the city. Of course, further outlying, less pavement, you'll cool a little quicker, but by and large, a very warm and muggy evening is in store. And we'll begin tomorrow in the mid to upper 70s. I think mid 70s outside of I-285, upper 70s or so inside the perimeter. Warmest probably right around Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport, forecasting a low temperature of 79. So again, hot weather is the big story locally, but also we're tracking something new in the tropics. Tropical Depression 10 was declared earlier this evening, and that will be a factor for some across the southeast as we get into the early and middle portion of the coming work week. So we're going to spend just a few more moments on the forecast tonight into tomorrow, and then your full tropical update coming up in just a minute. And I actually did put a video update in the First Alert Weather app. Again, a good place to have, a good place to check at least once a day as we refine the forecast and get a better handle on how this is going to play out with Tropical Depression 10 over the next few days. If you don't have the app, just search Atlanta News First or First Alert Weather in your app or Google Play Store. It's a quick, easy download, and we send a few video updates a day about various topics, typically what the weather is doing and what days and what forms of weather are most likely to impact you. And this evening, really no impact. Now that we've shed the dangerous heat for the day, temperature is gradually cooling. It's not too bad of an evening. Again, just a little bit warmer hour by hour. We're back to 80 or so by 5 a.m. Just like the past few mornings, we've had but a couple, I should say, mornings warmer at or warmer than 80 degrees, which is pretty unusual. And we have had several mornings warmer than about 76, 77. So it's been a really warm stretch, even morning-wise, and that continues tomorrow, back up to 82 or so by 9 a.m. And from there, we're going to continue warming up as we get into tomorrow afternoon. It is looking very, very toasty. High temperatures tomorrow in the mid to upper 90s. Today, we were in the upper 90s to near 100, so maybe just a couple of degrees cooler tomorrow. But I really don't think you're going to notice much of a difference, and I do think you need to take just about all the same heat precautions in the forecast tomorrow. Again, we'll pull out that afternoon forecast. Temperatures peaking between 3:30 and maybe 5:30 in the afternoon. The evening, that'll be when it's hottest tomorrow, so just keep that in mind for the outdoor plans. West side, certainly going to be hot. 93 Douglasville, 94 City South Fulton, 95 Estelle, 97 East Point, 94 Sandy Springs, Decatur 97, 93 Beaufort, Lawrenceville 94, Stone Mountain, Norcross, and Lithonia. And it's going to feel very, very toasty tomorrow. Feels like temperatures, heat index temperatures between 105 and 110 degrees pretty easily tomorrow, just like today. Top numbers is what it feels like. Bottom numbers, what the actual air temperature is forecast to be. So by noon, even the lunch hour tomorrow, if you're headed out to brunch, lower 90s, feeling like it's in the lower 100s. Mid to upper 90s, 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon and early evening, feeling like it is between 105 and 110 degrees. And for that reason, we do have a heat advisory once again in effect tomorrow. We had that heat advisory today, and it returns tomorrow. And also, we're going to be watching our air quality tomorrow as well. And we'll have to see what those levels are doing through the day. But again, heat advisory in effect tomorrow from late morning into early evening. So from this just gives an expiration until 8 p.m. Sunday. But of course, remember, overnight into mornings, we're not really concerned about the heat. It's mainly that late morning into early evening time period. So let's say roughly 10 a.m. to roughly 8 p.m. That's when those heat index temperatures will get close to 100, and then middle of the afternoon exceed 100 degrees. All right, do you want to talk weather here? Gonna look at the tropics first, and let's start with what's going on. Big picture first, and then we'll get to Tropical Depression 10. We have Hurricane Franklin, Category 1 in the Southwest Atlantic, but strengthening. It's going to make a run at Cat 2, perhaps Cat 3 status. As it moves out into the middle of the Atlantic, though, Bermuda, interest there, need to keep an eye on this. And then more recently, we have had a Tropical Depression 10 form. It was Invest 93L, and now it is Tropical Depression 10, and forecast to move off to the really kind of drift around for the next 24 to 36 hours, and then eventually moving off to the north and off to the northeast. Now, how sharp that turn is to the north and northeast, that's going to depend on exactly where this comes in for a landfall. But it is looking like a bona fide threat to the southeastern United States, looking fairly healthy this evening. Though notice how showers and thunderstorms kind of drifting away from the center of circulation. So still getting its act together here, dealing with a little bit of what looks like some northerly shear and perhaps wrapping in just a little bit of dry air. And it is close to the Yucatan Peninsula, and it is possible as it wobbles around and drifts around, it could move on to the Yucatan Peninsula. But that doesn't mean long term that there have been any changes to the forecast or that there are going to be changes to the forecast, even if this does happen to drift on land over the next 24 hours. Again, let's bring you out forecast wise. We're going to look 5 days out here, 120 hours. And you get the idea, that's going to move pretty quickly off to the north and northeast once it gets going. So it's going to sit around there for the next 36 hours. Beyond that point, it'll start to move at a little bit of a quicker clip as a ridge of high pressure builds in from the east, kind of pulling it northward. Also a trough of low pressure, basically a front, the front that we've been talking about for a few days, bringing us some slightly drier air in the forecast. Those two factors together working to lift this storm northward, what is forecast to become at least a Category 1 hurricane as we get into Tuesday and make landfall late Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning, somewhere between maybe Destin or Fort Walton Beach or so in Florida and Tampa Bay. Keep in mind this cone can shift around a little bit, and this is only the forecast for where the center of circulation will go. Nonetheless, this system, no matter where exactly it goes, will probably make its closest pass to North Georgia and Metro Atlanta as we get into Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday night. So something to certainly watch here as we go into the forecast next week. Already eyeing our Wednesday and Thursday. Before then, though, as mentioned, first alert for heat tomorrow. And then Monday, it's still going to be hot, but not as hot. And we do have a greater chance of showers and thunderstorms. First alert for heat in the forecast as we get into our Monday, or for storms rather, as we get into our Monday. Sorry, reading some comments here, and looks like we have some folks coming in. Dave, Xavi, again, if I pronounce your name incorrectly, I apologize. Feel free to give me a correction. Then Austin Vance saying hi, Cutter. So I was looking up on the radar on my phone that I saw there was tropical depression in the Gulf. Now, do you think it would impact on Florida and South Georgia? Yeah, Austin, you might have commented that before the feed picked up on your end. But yes, forecast to almost definitely impact Florida and very likely to an extent will impact South Georgia, perhaps a larger portion of the state, and to South Carolina and North Carolina as well as we get into Wednesday and Thursday. Now, the degree of impact will depend on a couple of things. Of course, exact track, how strong it gets, and the strength of the front or the trough of low pressure that's going to help steer this off to the north and to the northeast. If that trough is a little deeper or maybe arrives a little sooner, a sharper turn to the northeast and a more likely scenario that this is going to be on the eastern side of that forecast cone. Fade away on YouTube, asking about Vidalia, Georgia. Again, we cannot get specific fade away with exact impacts. Just know Wednesday into Thursday, the chance of rain and wind and maybe some severe weather, especially south and southeast Georgia, will increase a bit. It is not set in stone. It is not a certainty, but that risk is there. Fade away. And again, if you're watching from Vidalia, Georgia, you may either pick up the Macon TV signal or the Savannah, Georgia TV signal. If you do pick up Savannah's WTOC, our sister station down there, a great station to watch. And of course, they'll keep you updated on the specifics for that area. But the general idea here is that for Georgia, we're going to be watching Wednesday into Thursday for potential tropical weather impacts, especially South Georgia and especially Southeast Georgia, though a larger portion of the state could end up dealing with some heavy rain and some form of severe weather, but we just can't put that into stone, can't chisel it into stone, so to speak, just yet, as there is a lot of uncertainty. In fact, we'll pull that track back up for you and zoom out. I'm just going to leave the track up and talk about the scenario here. This is basically going to sit down here for the next 24 to 36 hours, just nothing to really get it moving. So it's just going to sit in this general area. And then finally, and I'm going to kind of adjust this here, so just bear with me just so it's a little bit easier to understand exactly what's happening here. We'll turn off some of these layers and we'll talk about what exactly is happening here and what is forecast to occur over the next several days. Again, system meanders down in the Yucatan Strait, the Yucatan Channel, just off of the Yucatan Peninsula, and then at some point, ridge of high pressure to its east. That's clockwise flow. That's going to build in from the east. We're also going to have a little dip in the jet stream, a trough of low pressure, a little cool front approaching from the west. And both of these features, will help lift this storm off to the north. And if that trough is deeper, if it arrives a little sooner, you can expect a sharper turn to the north and northeast, and that would mean a lesser impact on the state of Georgia. Maybe a more shallow trough or a slower arrival of that dip in the jet stream, a slower arrival of that front would mean maybe a more northward motion before a more gradual bend to the north and northeast, and that could mean a greater impact to North Georgia, Metro Atlanta. Timing-wise, perhaps the most consistent part of this, it is looking like mainly a Wednesday into Thursday impact for Georgia if it ends up being that scenario. Now, if it takes a much sharper turn down towards Tampa Bay, it would be a Monday late into more so Tuesday impact. It would, of course, reach land much sooner than if it remained over the Gulf of Mexico a little bit longer. Touch the Sun on YouTube saying thanks for the update. Henrik trying to be funny. Nope. That's a pretty normal drawing. Again, thank you for the comments. Always appreciate a little bit of humor, but we're talking tropics here. And the next name on the list is Idalia. Right now, tropical depression, not named, but forecast to get that name within the next 36 hours or so. And I think the greatest period of strengthening here is probably going to be once it really begins that northward momentum and that northward motion. So kind of in this span, more so Tuesday into Wednesday. Again, we'll turn on the right-hand side. Turn our day parts on so you can get a better idea as to where this is going to be as we go through the work week. So Tuesday afternoon, still eastern Gulf of Mexico. Wednesday afternoon, it's on land, possibly pushing into the Florida Panhandle, extreme southeast Alabama, state of Georgia, or maybe even if it takes a sharper turn to the right, maybe just off the coast, southwest Atlantic coast of the state of Florida, off of Jacksonville, Cape Canaveral area, Melbourne area, if it takes a sharper turn to the north and northeast. There are many possibilities. The one thing I want to drive home, though, is that we'll keep you updated as the situation evolves and as we get a clearer picture on the forecast. And you can always get those updates at AtlantaNewsFirst.com and in the First Alert Weather app, Atlanta News First app as well, even if you're away from the TV. And streaming locations in places like this, Roku, Amazon Fire, typically 10 a.m., 11:30 a.m., and 8 p.m. every day, except Saturday, Sunday, 10 a.m. and 8 p.m., not 11:30. But we'll be following up on the forecast. Of course, a lot to talk about, a lot to fine-tune in the specifics of the forecast. Just keep in mind, North Georgia, Metro Atlanta, even this far north, we're going to be watching that potential for some heavier rain and maybe some severe weather, depending on exactly how this evolves. But we'll keep you updated. In fact, full forecast coming up in just a few minutes on Atlanta News First on Peachtree TV at 9 p.m. We'll have more in the 10 o'clock hour. New track, new forecast, though. Not anticipating too many changes in at 11 p.m., so we will keep you updated. Touch the Sun saying a little rain will be good. It absolutely would. Hopefully not too much too quick. Of course, beggars can't be choosers, right? So we're just going to have to watch the forecast. We'll keep you updated. Just keep your alerts turned on in the First Alert Weather app. That way, if you're on the go tomorrow or busy through the work week, you can still get your at least once a day update on the tropics from the First Alert Weather team. For now, we're going to go ahead and take a live look outside. Gorgeous this evening, albeit pretty warm, Metro Atlanta. More hot weather tomorrow, First Alert Monday for storms, and then we're watching that Wednesday, Thursday forecast. Any potential impact from recently declared Tropical Depression 10. We'll talk more about it tonight coming up on Peachtree TV starting at 9 p.m.